What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Million Doll Hair Man. Today I decided that I kind of want to go over doll hair types. It is a subject that has been requested by one of you before. And I know that whenever I first started collecting, I was also pretty confused as to how to tell hair types apart from one another. And first and foremost, I am no professional. A lot of the time I have to look things up myself. And it's just one of those things that takes practice. I have to say that. It's one of those things that takes practice. And, once you get your hands on a good number of dolls, over time you can just kind of oh, that's this, that's that, But it definitely takes some time to get to that point. Anyway, so there are 4 main hair types. There is nylon, polypropylene, saran, and an older hair type called Kanekalon. Kanekalon isn't really used anymore. It used to be used a long time ago. I want to say, I can look that up. Okay, so I looked it up. I'm a little surprised. I guess Kanekalon is still being used, which is insane. It started to be used in the 1960s. It's what classic Barbie hair tends to be. I was under the impression that they stopped using it because it's cancer causing. I don't know, but yeah, I guess it is still being used. Let's kind of go through them. So my favorite, and probably most people's favorite doll hair type, is saran, right? And here I have Laguna Blue in her Core Refresh doll. I have straightened her saran hair with boiling water. It is beautiful, right? And then I have another example as well. So this is our new Claudine Wolf Scary Sweet Birthday. Also saran, right? So how do I know it's saran? Well, first of all, it's a newer Monster High doll, and unless it's a budget Monster High doll, they tend to have saran. That's just, first and foremost. But realistically, so it has a good weight to it, right? It's nice and soft. It flows really, really nice, like real hair almost. It's easy to style. It holds curls. What else? It is easy to confuse with nylon, kind of. And so the reason I say that, set my saran girls right here. So nylon is kind of shiny, right? It also has a good flow to it. Nylon is heavier though. It definitely has more weight to it than saran does. And also it's very slick, I guess is the word. This is Chanel Onyx, I think her name is, from Shadow High. But yeah, nylon tends to be very slick. And really, if you run your fingers through it, it almost feels oily, but not in a bad way. It's just slippery, I guess. And another example of nylon is Decora Girls, right? This is another one that's extremely shiny, extremely straight. This nylon isn't as heavy as Chanel's nylon, which is kind of wild. But yeah, very vibrant colors. Saran, you can get vibrant colors in saran, but they're more muted, they're more natural tones, kind of. And one of the key definers of this nylon, so this Decora girl, she has bows in her hair. And I actually had to put a sticker underneath this bow in order to keep it, because without that sticker, the bow just falls through her hair because it's so straight and slick and tangle free. And yeah, so nylon is a really, really beautiful, beautiful hair fiber. Honestly, it's a really close second favorite. It might be just as nice to me as Saran is. I haven't tried to directly style nylon, I don't think. Yes, I have. That's a lie. So I did wave this hair out, right? So nylon actually does hold a wave pretty well. The way, though, realistically speaking, that you can tell Saran from nylon, first of all, is the doll line, right? If it's Monster High, it's probably not using nylon. But like I said, nylon is extremely slick. If you looked at it under a microscope, the hair fibers are extremely smooth, right? Saran has a little bit more of a texture to it. Not like in a bad way. It feels a lot like real hair. I don't know. I don't know how else to explain that. It feels a lot like real hair. How real hair usually isn't extremely smooth. It looks like, a bunch of like stacked cones or whatever. And anyway, yeah, you can kind of feel that. It tangles a little easier, but also it's kind of not that bad, right? It's easy to get the tangles out, to comb them out. If you comb or brush Saran, it's just gonna stay beautiful. But yeah, you can tell Saran from nylon because Saran has a little bit more of a texture to it, and nylon is quite slick. Anyway, so yeah, our Saran babies right here, and then our nylon baby right here. And you can even see the difference in like sheen. There's so much shine in this hair. There's a lot of shine in this hair too, but that's because I straightened the crap out of it, right? But like, usually Saran is just a little bit duller, and you can almost see that texture on camera, which is kind of wild. But yeah, you can see it is a little bit textured. And yeah, but I don't know. I prefer Saran. It just feels real. And that's why. Nylon, I guess, feels like a Party City wig, right? It's a good way to put it. Well, and not even Party City, because this is like higher quality. Party City wigs probably, I don't know this for sure, but probably use polypropylene, right? Let me grab out a polypropylene doll or two. So polypropylene lately is getting kind of harder to identify, which is a good thing, right? Because obviously if it's getting harder to identify, then it's getting better. It's becoming a higher quality. But there are still some like dead giveaways, right? So first of all, this is older polypropylene, right? And if you see, this is the first thing I look for when I suspect hair is polypropylene, is those ends, right? And if you look really close, all of those ends are like frayed and terrible and broken, right? And a lot of the time, the very end of the doll's hair can look matted and gross. And the reason is that polypropylene, the fiber is extremely fragile. So if you bend it too much, you are physically breaking the structure inside of the fiber. And there is a point where it will never lay flat ever again, right? Or it'll never, like, you can only style it so much. Another really big negative with polypropylene is it's just wild that they use it in dolls. And the reason I say that is because dolls are primarily for children. And if you handed a child this Claudine and they played with it at all, it's a rat's nest. It's a rat's nest, and then they're going to try to brush it out, and that's going to destroy the hair fibers, and they've ruined it, right? So, like, there's things you can do to try to resurrect your polypropylene, but, I mean, good luck. Realistically, resurrecting damaged polypropylene is next to impossible. So, like I said, that's a dead giveaway, is these ends just feel fried. Extremely lightweight, doesn't really act like hair. It feels kind of like plastic. And a different style of polypropylene though. So this is like treated polypropylene. And this isn't even like as treated. It's gotten even better lately, I will say. But if you look at these ends, right, they're not nearly as bad. This Frankie's got really great ends, but I promise you this hair is polypropylene. So the thing that I look for primarily, I guess, is the weight, right? Polypropylene is extremely lightweight. It doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like hair. Where Saran has a little bit of a texture to it, just a little bit, polypropylene has a lot of a texture to it. And then another thing too, Frankie, right? Frankie tends to have white hair. Polypropylene is white. Like, I mean, icy, frigid, like stark, bright white. And I'm not saying that white is impossible with Saran, but it tends to just look a little bit more natural. It looks a little bit more yellow. It's not so bright. So yeah, and then that too. This highlighter blue, I don't think I've ever seen that color in Saran. I mean, I've seen blues. Like I said, you can get some pretty vivid colors, but this is like highlighter blue. And I just don't think I've ever seen Saran in that color. But yeah, and again, like I know my descriptions are probably quite vague, right? But they're the best I can do. Like I said, you really have to get your hands on them and start feeling your dolls to know the difference. Again, even though this is treated, if you feel the ends, it feels frizzy at the ends. So polypropylene, really lightweight, really plasticky feeling, frizzy ends. If you shake it around, it's done. You can't brush it out. You can't breathe on polypropylene incorrectly. Like literally the fact that I took these off of my shelves alone. I mean, I'm probably never going to get this Claudine's hair to fall right ever again. And it's because I touched it. And it's just a shame. It's just a shame. Polypropylene is like the worst. The worst. And it's crazy to me that they still even put it on dolls because it's so bad. Like I said, lately it's gotten a little better. They're treating it, and treated polypropylene isn't as terrible. It's a little less fragile at the ends and whatnot. It's a little nicer to the touch. But yeah, old school polypropylene is disgusting. Like this is just the worst hair fiber. So what do we have so far? Right, we've got beautiful, flowy Saran that's a little lightweight when compared to nylon, but just like real hair. Again, Saran is gonna feel probably as close to real hair as you can get without putting real hair in the doll. It just feels just like hair, which is awesome. Yeah, love Saran for that. So yeah, Saran, lightweight, smooth, real hair feeling. Nylon, way smoother, right? Way smoother, super tangle free, extremely shiny, and kind of heavy. Yeah. Also, and if you're having a hard time telling Saran from nylon, if it's these bright, beautiful colors, again, for the 1000th times, yeah, Saran can come in vivid colors, but it's really uncommon. If it's these beautiful, bright, vivid colors like this, it's probably nylon, honestly. But yeah, it's to me, it's a dead giveaway when it's so slick. If you can just go find a doll with nylon hair, either Decor Girls, all of the Decor Girls have nylon, and then a lot of Shadow and Rainbow High use nylon. Go do yourself a favor and touch a doll with nylon hair. You'll know immediately, like, okay, that's nylon, you know? I don't know how to explain other than it's so smooth. So here I am kind of repeating myself, right? But yeah, I'm just trying to go back through them. Saran, smooth, lightweight. Nylon, smooth, heavyweight, very smooth. Saran has a texture to it though, right? Nylon doesn't, it's just smooth. Polypropylene, garbage. If it feels like plastic and is extremely lightweight, doesn't hold a curl, it's really hard to style, it's a rat's nest and you can't comb it out, polypropylene. Also, if it's a budget doll from Monster High, it's probably polypropylene. Even if it feels okay, it's probably treated polypropylene. It's still going to be extremely lightweight compared to Saran. Okay, so now that I've kind of gone back through them, I'll put Frankie over here, Miss Polypropylene. But yeah, now that I've gone kind of back through them, I wanted to show you. So Kanekalon is a little hard to find, right? I'm not sure. But, so this is a She-Ra Princess of Power doll from 1985, right? And so this was about the time that they would have been using Kanekalon. And I just kind of, all I can really say is it's somewhere in between Saran and Poly, in the sense that, like, you can comb this and not destroy it, but it also feels a lot like plastic. So, I don't know. And that's crazy because Kanekalon is a type of nylon. So you would think it's just buttery smooth, but no. It feels a lot like real hair, I guess. A lot more like real hair than polypropylene does. But it's not, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's not quite as smooth as Saran. It's, like I said, it's somewhere in between polypropylene and Saran. And like I said, you can run your fingers through Kanekalon and not completely destroy it. Polypropylene, you run your fingers through it too many times, it's done. So, and again, I don't even know if this doll actually has Kanekalon. I've done a lot of research and nobody knows exactly. I guess I could do like a burn test, right? That too. I was asking AI before I made this video some things, and AI claims that you can burn the hair and they burn slightly different. I'm not doing that. Do it at your own risk. But yeah, apparently they burn different. Like they ash in different colors or beat up in liquid plastic. Like, I don't know. But again, this is around the time frame, and this is a Mattel doll. It's around the time frame that they would have been using Kanekalon for most things. And so I do have a feeling that it's Kanekalon. One thing, though, that I am surprised by is I have heard that Kanekalon just disintegrates over time. I think polypropylene does that as well. But after, I don't know, like 10, 20 years, it's supposed to be extremely brittle. And I mean, this is a 40-year-old doll, you know? So, like literally a 40-year-old doll this year. They just announced like the Barbie She-Ra doll. Which is crazy because I actually came into possession of these this year because my in-laws were cleaning and they found some of their kids' old dolls, which is insane. They're so sweet. But yeah, I have a second one somewhere. Anyway, yeah, that hopefully that contains some bit of information that is usable to you. I feel like I just kind of repeated myself a bunch and that was all over the place, but yeah, I don't know. Quicker recap. Super slick, shiny. Not as slick, pretty shiny. Real hair feeling. Plastic garbage. Garbage. Somewhere in between. So, another way that you know Kanekalon is Kanekalon is if you touch it and you suddenly have cancer. That's a dead giveaway. If you have any questions, because I'm pretty sure you do, because I was all over the place, like I said. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll try to answer any questions that you might have. For the 100th time, it really just takes experience. You just need to get out there and touch some doll hair and look up what it is and get a feel for like, okay, this is that, and this is this, and this is that. And after a while, you'll be really, really good on, and I promise it's just a skill that just comes over time. It's not even anything you have to think about that much. But over time, you'll be really good at identifying like that's nylon, that's saran, that's poly. The only, I guess, confusing one for me is saran is a lot like nylon. It just has more texture and it tangles a little easier. Nylon doesn't tangle. Okay, guys, thanks for coming and checking out doll hair with me. I definitely have a lot of hair to brush because I have now matted everybody's hair up. I can't brush the poly because, you know, it's poly and I'll just destroy it. But yeah, they needed it anyway. They needed to come off the shelf and get a little dusted. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, coming and hanging out. If you're watching this, you're not subscribed, consider doing so. It helps the channel a lot. We are at 1,179 subscribers at the recording of this video, and that's awesome. Thank you guys so much. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.